Hello, everyone. My name is Lena, and today I actually wanted to do a module on environment. The topic of environment I feel is super, super important. And as always, we're going to be looking at it through the lens of human design. So I feel that environment is really one of the most crucial pieces when it comes to our evolution and our growth, right? Because we are the products of our environments, and different types of environments will bring out different aspects, different parts of our characters to life. And when we look at it through the lens of human design, when you have an open G center, and if you don't actually know your human design, you can go on mybodygraph.com. I'll put a link underneath the video, and you can generate your design and look if you have a G center open, which is the fourth center from the top. And G center, it's all about the direction, identity, and self-love. And I actually did a previous video last week on the magnetic monopole and how we create and how we attract experiences into our life, which was to do a lot with the G center. So if you haven't watched that video yet, maybe go watch another one yet, so that this will make more sense. So when you look at the chart, you will see some of the centers are open, undefined, so they have no color, they're completely white, and some of the centers are defined, so they're colored in. Doesn't really matter what the color is. And what that means is all of the centers that are open, this is how you send energy, this is how you absorb energy from the collective, right? So it's from people around you, from the universe, from the planets and transits, and you're very variable in that energy. So there's not consistent energy coming in. Now, when you look at the defined centers, the colored in centers, this is how you send the energy out into the world, into the collective, and that's your fixed energy. So this is almost like your strength. This is where you fix, it's not a variable, okay? And it's with you your whole life. You can't change your design. But like with anything in our lives, you can either live the highest expression or the lowest expression of your human design chart, and the high and the lowest expression of every of your center. For example, if you have, let's talk about the will center that is defined. If you have that defined, which minority of actually people do, but if you have it defined, it's all about you speaking what it is that you want and you desire. It's about using that I desire this, I want this. But in its lowest expression, you are almost scared to say what you need or what you want, what you desire. So instead of expressing it, you're suppressing it, you see. So, and that's relevant to every single center, whether or not it's defined or not defined. So when you look at your G center, you may be asking yourself questions like, who am I? What is my purpose here? And especially when you have it open, you may struggle to kind of, have that sense of identity, because it varies. Like one day you're this person, next day you're somebody else. And in the presence of maybe your husband, you become completely something different, not in a bad way. And I know I work with some clients who have an open G center, and one day they may be dressed up like a rock star. The second day they will be dressed up like in a floaty kind of floral dress. So every day or every time they may show up different, and that can be a real beauty in it, because they're so kind of open, they're so fluid in their identity, that they can choose who they want to be, right? And they're very creative with like their persona, with the way they dress and the way they express themselves. While if like me, I've got a defined G center, so a strong sense of knowing who I am, where I'm going. I'm always dressed the same. Well, I just changed my clothes, but I don't have that, fluidity and this kind of experimental energy in me to experiment with my identity. So it can really, really be beautiful. But what happens is with the open G center, people tend to be really conditioned to believe that it's not okay really to be, to experiment like that. They really have to know who they are and where they're going because of the societal pressure. If you think how a lot of us are grown up. It's like, you've got to be this person, you've got to be doing these things. This is the uniform you have to wear. This is how you've got to show up. But for 50%, if not even slightly more, this is not really true. They really need to be able to express themselves. They're like chameleons, really. And you can choose, you have a choice which direction you want to be going. And as I said, it can be really amazing, really exciting, but also overwhelming. And really the importance for you to know is where this direction comes from. And it comes from two places. So first of all, it's following your strategy. And if you know anything about human design, you know that there are 5 energy types, and every energy type has their own strategy. So strategy is basically how you show up in life, right? How you make those decisions in a way that kind of life flows through you. You don't wrestle with it so much. So for example, for generators and manifesting generators, their strategy is to wait to respond. They're constantly responding to something. So for them, it's not that initiating and forcing and bending things to the will, but it's more like waiting for something to show up in the external reality and then following that pull of the body to respond. Is it the yes for them, or is it a no? For manifestors, it's to initiate and inform. So they are multi-passionate, they want to do this and they want to do that, and that's fine. But first, they need to inform people who are going to be affected by their decision, by their action, and then they can initiate. For projector, it's about the invitation. It's waiting for the right invitation. They don't have consistent energy, and if they're going to try to work like generators or initiate like manifestors, they will burn out and they will be just bitter. And then the reflector, really, for them, it's the strategy is to wait a lunar cycle, because they are completely open. Okay, so every single center they have is undefined, it's open, so they absorb everybody's energy, and that's why they need to wait for 29 days in order really to understand what is theirs and what isn't. And that's when they can make correct decisions. So this is the strategy for every type. So then when it comes to your direction, it is important that you follow your strategy for your specific time. And then, of course, then being in the right place with the right people that feels good for you. So it's like your home, your office, your creative space, your gym, the places you go hang out, your coffee shop. You have to feel good in that environment, because when you feel good in the environment, when you're with the right people, the right opportunities will naturally come to you. And the disappointment then is, or the bitterness or the anger, frustration, or this, this kind of a state of being uncomfortable, or the victimhood, is just a really good sign of being in the wrong location with the wrong people. And when that feels like that, then it's just time for you to get up and leave, either physically or energetically, then, just then disconnect from the environment or from the people. And you will probably find that your mind will try to persuade you to hold on to it, saying, but you can't leave, it's rude, or, I paid for this course, therefore I have to show up. But this is just your conditioning. It's just your mind worrying about not being in control of your life. And, then it's really then comes to that self-trust, to let go and surrender into this unknowingness of what is next. So there is a lot of, as I said, there's a lot of conditioning when it comes to Open G Center, and to believe and to trust yourself that not knowing what is next is actually, this is the way you are designed to operate in the world, and surrender to that and let go of that control that your mind is like just trying to, manipulate you with, really. So the healthy, then there's a healthy kind of traits of the G Center, and these are being comfortable with inconsistent energy and direction, knowing that if you don't know who you are today, you're not really sure what is the next thing for you, then it's probably just the external energies that are affecting you. Maybe take a look at your environment, where you are, the people you're with, and start taking notes, like journal, especially every time when you feel that the same kind of feeling, like of bitterness, disappointment, frustration coming up, maybe just start noting down who is making me feel that way. Where are you feeling that way? In which environment? And then you will probably be able to find some kind of pattern, and you can start releasing this from your life. So another healthy trait of G Center is surrendering to not knowing where you're going next. And knowing and being comfortable with not having consistent identity, just really playing with it. You can be whoever you choose to be. So choose to be whoever lights you up at that moment in time. And some of the unhealthy traits then is searching for identity and trying to find love and direction, worrying about not being in control of your life. And that's the really, really big one. You know, it's like as humans, we just designed to like control everything, you know, certain outcome, like we designed to control where the money comes from, where we're going to have the next clients, what we're going to eat for breakfast, what our kids are going to eat. I know for me, that's been the biggest thing. Like my kids would ask me for pasta and I'm like, you had pasta 3 days ago, 2 days of soup there. I'm like, now I'm like, why am I controlling it? You know, it's more of a like choosing really what is it that I feel is the healthier thing for them, but not fighting and not overthinking it. And another unhealthy trait is also feeling lost with who or with what you are merging. So especially, you know, for reflectors who are really here, the mirrors of our society, and they've got this like aura, the energy, which is almost like Teflon-like. So they sample it and it just slides off them. Unless, you know, something feels really, really good, it feels right for them, then they can choose to go along with that energy. But often they have completely open G centers, not even with the gates. So you will see on your chart, there's like lines that come off the gates, and some of them are completely wide. So you've got a G center, and those lines that you see there, this hanging gates, they're also completely wide. It means you've got a completely open. Then I guess the danger is to completely abandon your strategy, how you make decisions, and also your authority. So your inner authority is how you make decisions that are true for you, you know. So for some, it may be in the moment, instant right now, through the sacral or through the spleen centers. For others, they may need just to sleep on it to get some clarity, like with emotional authority, or like for reflector, who actually need 30 days. So when you have a completely open G center, you may really just kind of push that aside and feel the pressure of the, you know, society to go and make decisions now, to find your directions, to really push and, you know, research a lot and clock your brain with so much information that leaves you even more overwhelmed. So it's just something to be aware about. So then when it comes to your environment, you probably already heard the phrase, you are who you hang around. And your environment is something that needs constant check-in, because the people in your environments, they are also changing, they're also upgrading, evolving, or maybe not, right? And if you are someone who works on their evolution, on their growth, on their like next up level, there may be like a natural clearing and purging that needs to be placed, and you have to be okay with it, you know? So, because whenever you are in a presence with others, whether it's physically or virtually, like we are now, there is an energetic transfer takes place. And you know how sometimes like you spend a few minutes with a person, you don't even know what they say, they didn't really say anything like mind-blowing, but you just feel so charged, like, you know, so happy and positive and vibey. And then with other people, you know, you like feel completely drained, right? So it's both ways. You can get energy from people and you can completely get drained. And that's because of all of this energetic codes that takes place when you're in somebody's presence. And the more work you do on your environments consciously, you can actually use it for your own growth and your own acceleration. So one of the ways then really to work on your environment is to connect with people who inspire you and who also have real stories to share. And, you know, when you look for people like that, if you don't already have them, it's also really would be nice, I think, or good, well, quite useful if they are even the same energy type as you. Especially, I think, you know, for reflectors, for projectors, there's not energy types, because they really need to observe how they spend their energy wisely. So they don't want to be like kind of drawn to the wrong people. Not that nothing is wrong with those people, but energetically, they're just not a match. So it will be good even for them to like Google like projector, you know, famous projectors or inspiring stories for projectors or for reflectors, and listen to their stories. Because if, you know, if they have already achieved something in life, that's a great indication. It's like a great kind of reflection. And then for you, that if they had done it, I can do it, you know, and listen to more people like that who inspire you with the real stories. So one of my mentors is Regan Healy, one of my coaches. And I remember she was telling us the story when she was mentored by Lisa Nichols at one stage. And she just spent like literally a couple of hours or half a day with Lisa. And like she was said, you know, there is nothing that Lisa told her that was groundbreaking, or she maybe told her how to build this business in a certain way. There's nothing like that, but there was a big shift in her beingness. It was this like possibilities that, you know, just started kind of, I guess, arriving in her energy field, that she became aware of certain things she wasn't aware of before. And there was some like a shift in the core. And that's basically what you want to get more of. So especially, you know, if you've got an open G center, completely open, or even undefined G center, you want to be in a presence of such people who really inspire you, who have real stories to share, and from whom, you know, you can get your identity and your energy from. So the ones, you know, for with the open G centers, it's also then obviously important to find a place in a community and be the center of the groups and be surrounded by people with whom you connect, because these are the kind of the people then help you to identify better with, you know, who you are and who you came here to be. And especially for reflectors, then they become this like hub of the community, because the sole purpose really is to reflect people back, you know, to mirror people back, their energy and their states. And in the highest potential, you know, when the reflector is really embodied the wisdom, they really embodied their openness, instead of reflecting back the disappointment, the frustration, or the anger, or whatever this low energy feelings they may be expressing, they reflect people back their full potential, you know, what those people are capable of. And that becomes really, really powerful. So another really great tip I can give if someone is watching this and they're a reflector or a projector is to talk about your vision, okay? Or even for anyone who has undefined or unmotorized throat. So if you look at your chart and it's the third kind of center from the top, if you have an unmotorized throat, it's all about the divine timing and recognition, being really called out to share your wisdom, to share your truth. And the low expression of that energy center is trying to get attention in the wrong kind of way, I guess, you know, through neediness or manipulation. So when you have this vision, when you've got this passion, when you've got this idea and you want to get clarity, you really want to practice your presence and your, you know, your message, it's just a great idea to speak your vision. So for example, for me, my vision is to find the freedom of self and to break the patterns of the past that are keeping me stuck and stagnant, you know, that's not really allowing me to evolve, to move to the next level, and also help others to do the same. Because I don't believe we can be truly free if within us, we don't have that complete inner freedom and inner peace. And that's when your decision-making comes into power. That's when your creativity gets unleashed. This is when you pull in this next level clients. And this is when this most incredible, like mind-blowing opportunity comes to you. That's when you feel this complete freedom of self, because instead of being in contraction, you expand it, right? Because when you think like, when you feel amazing and you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so free, you know, I've got no worries, no concern. Don't know if you ever felt that way, but when you do, like all of a sudden, like you go, how did I just do that? You know, this person showed up in my life, or I just got this amazing opportunity. I've received this call, and that just completely blew my mind. And that all comes from that freedom of self. So this is really my passion, my purpose. And that's what I help people to get unstuck, okay? To get out of this mind control and to tap into their bodies, to tap into their intuition, to trust themselves more, to learn how to make these powerful decisions and see this most powerful, amazing results manifesting in their lives, and really become the conscious creators. So here I just speaking my vision out because my throat is open. And for me, it's important to speak it out, to really manifest it into my reality. And the more you practice that, you know, with the open G center, if you've got an open throat, the better you become. And then you also speak out into the universe. And we already know that the more you kind of ask, the more you express what is it that you truly desire, with that energy of confidence, energy of this desire, rather than, I need this, dear universe, can you please help me? The more you receive, right? So, I mean, you'll feel the difference in the energy that comes out of you. And, you know, the most important decision for those who have an open G center is to find that right environment, that right community that feels like home. And also to know that, you know, in your obviously environment, you have some friends or family, people you trust, you love. If they have a defined G center, then it's good to hang out with them. Of course, if you love hanging with them, because they're here to initiate and to introduce you to the right places and into the right environments. So again, it's really important for you to find this creative space of your own, where you can take time and shake off the energy which you absorb with others, because otherwise you become too dependent on others' energies, right? And the more openness you have, the more energy you're going to absorb with the collective from the others. And if you're not aware of it, you're going to pass this as your own. So all of this fears, all of this, you know, limitations, all of these blocks, you're going to think they're yours, but most of the time they're not even yours. You know, you're just borrowing it from others around you. So, and of course, if you work then in an office with the people, with a team, you, especially as a reflector, you are mirroring back to them the energy of the group, you know, and if you're feeling bored, unmotivated, unfulfilled, this is just a reflection of how they feel. And perhaps if it was different job, different environment, different team of people, you would feel completely different, okay? So all you're doing is you're reflecting how they're doing and you're giving them the feedback. So just to wrap it up, you know, a couple of things that can really help you to upgrade your environment and to find a sense of direction as to who you are, where you are going, especially, as I said, if you've got an open G center or you are in a low expression of your G center, okay, so the low energy of the G center. So first of all, start choosing who you want to be hanging out with, okay, the people. And the best way to do it, not to think about it from the state of mind where you're currently at, because this level of mind doesn't really know, okay, because it only got you this far. So if you had to like feel into how would you be like in 2 to 3 years from now on, you know, what is the future version of you would be feeling and talking about, and who will he or she be hanging out with, and where would they be living? So who and what will inspire you? So if you tap into that version, you know, if you would feel into that future version of you, then start kind of figuring out in your life right now, who are the people, what are the environments that not really longer match to you? So take a check on that, take a check on your environments, and then choose who you want to release, really. And the release doesn't need to be physical. So, you know, obviously we've got some family or some places we have to go to that is unavoidable, but you can just do an energetic release where you just like surround yourself, you know, before you go into a certain environment or speak to a certain person, you surround yourself with like a ball of golden white lights, and you just decide, you just command that you're not going to take an energy of that person, of that environment, okay? So it's a choice, and just do that before you go into a certain place or speak to a certain person, okay? And also obviously your profile. So in human design profile, if you don't know what profiles are, I will do next session also on profile. That's really important. Also how you can then experiment with your environments to help you to find a sense of direction and identity.